It's the Live Happy Show. I'm Chuck Caton, Coach Pete DeRuta with me, and we've got a very special show for you here today. We are going to be talking to former U.S. Olympian defenseman Tim Gleason. We're going to be talking about some of the finer things in life, wine and cigars. And if you didn't know this already, Mr. Gleason and Mr. Cam Ward, the former Hurricane goaltender now in Chicago, have combined forces to be a part and entrepreneurs and proprietors of a wonderful, wonderful vineyard, Vineyard 36 in Napa Valley. And I know that's close to your heart, Coach.
I know, Chuck, we're going to be trying the Foundations wine later on today. And I know Tim's excited about that wine. I'm excited to try it.
It's going to be a tremendous show, so we're going to have at it. And Tim's an interesting guy, too, I think, Coach. He's a gritty player. He's kind of an old schooler. He's only 35 years of age. He was forced to retire in at the age of 31. Not 19, but 2000 and something. But the bottom line with Mr. Gleason is he's always been one of my favorite players in the NHL. And even though as he spent the majority of his NHL career, 9 of his 12 seasons in the Carolinas here with the Hurricanes, a gritty, a guy you would go to war with. He was a type of defenseman that was very physical. You could count on him in any situation. He never took nights off, always would play hurt. And I think that we'll talk about all those transitions of, and now what he's doing is he's the, I call him D-cubed. I was a math major once. You wouldn't know it, but D-cubed. He's the Director of Defense Development for the Carolina Hurricanes. So there's where you get the triple D.
D times 3, huh?
D times 3,
right.
D-cubed. And so he's now working with the organization's defensemen, whether they be junior players, college players, or even guys that are on the minor league roster with the American Hockey League Charlotte Checkers. So it's, but I think the biggest thing, and he's a versatile guy, just as Cam Ward is, life after hockey. We've talked about it before. What do guys do? And you know, you are in the business of helping people with retirement plans, income plans, with Capital Financial Advisory Group. And you know that whatever career you're in sports-wise, it ends too early.
Sudden retirement, we call it. All of a sudden, there's retirement.
Right, and you know, he found something along with Cam that they're exploring, they're doing well at, they're working hard from the bottom up.
Saying retired and 35 years old in the same sentence doesn't make sense, does it?
It's hard. It's hard.
So he's out there doing stuff, and you know, it's important to enjoy life. Really is. And so I think that Tim is a good example of someone who's having fun every day, and whatever cards he's dealt, he's done a good job of playing them. And now, speaking of cards being dealt, and this is a Live Happy show, so we're happy because you got it fixed. But what happened to you the other day with a little lightning strike?
Oh, my God. Well, see, this is where you have to make the best of the situations. The old lemonade out of lemons. We had...
If you're Don Daly, you put some vodka in there.
That's right. I don't have... See, I'm wearing the regular khaki pants today. I don't have those flowery pants like John does. But what happened with us was recently we had a major thunderstorm and a lightning strike in our neighborhood, southern part of Wake County. And boy, it just made me pop out of my seat, my wife out of her seat, and we didn't think there were any effects. It was on a Thursday night. We lost one of our 2 garage door openers. I know didn't function the next day, but little did I know 3 days later that we also lost, we have well water where we live, and we lost the power to our water pump. And it was only 3 years old. So I woke up just before coming in to do this program. Turn on the faucet, there's nothing there. It's kind of like somebody that doesn't plan for their retirement probably.
That's right, Chuck. Well, you need a stream, don't you? Streams of income.
And so I had no stream. I ended up scrambling to call our, and we have wonderful, wonderful people that helped us out. And so within an hour, we actually had my guy come in and gave us a new pump. Now I'm out $1,200, but hey, it was well worth it. And
I was going to say, he was there within an hour.
He was there within an hour. I was lucky because he said, I only have one other call, and then you'll be the second call.
That's amazing, though. I mean, that's well worth it then when you paid him.
So,
and that made
well worth it. I love it.
No pun intended. we know a guy named Greg Fisher who likes the pun like that too, right?
And we're going to have him on future shows. But yeah, but I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, life happens.
Yep.
And I think we're on the topic of athletes who have their careers cut short. They don't have control over the situation. But Tim is a class act. You're going to love watching him and getting his story. He's a kid from the Motor City. He's a kid, an American player, and again influenced by people like the '80 Olympic team. And I know on a future show we're going to have Mark Johnson, who was part of that '80 gold medal team in Lake Placid. I think Tim was probably, if I do my math right, he was only 3 years old, but he'll talk about that with us. But you have to, what are you going to do? The lightning strike. You just don't want anything to happen. It's not life and death.
Yeah.
You can always roll with the punches.
Well, it could have been a lot worse when you think about it. I mean, the lightning struck. It could, you see these where the attic catches on fire and you don't realize it until the neighbors see it, but you don't because you're in your house. And so I've never been struck by lightning. Let me take that back. When I was in 7th grade, lightning struck our house in Warrenburg, and I remember my stereo was messed up.
Oh.
And the good thing was I ended up with I had the unit that had the record player built into the AM FM cassette. The one little thing.
Yes.
Well, when the lightning struck, our insurance agent at the time gave my dad a check because that broke, and I ended up with a separate piece set. I had my own record player now, my own CD player or cassette player. There was no CDs, but cassette player and AM FM. So I ended up with the 3-piece set instead of the one big old thing. So I came out better on that.
Yeah, so something always positives comes out of something negative.
Yep.
And the way I looked at our situation that day was I have a 2-car garage and I can't understand how lightning works, especially if they're in the Eastern Conference of the NHL, because they're supposed to win the Stanley Cup this year, the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I only had one garage door opener blow, and I had no television trouble, no computer trouble, no printer. All of these things are plugged in.
So many things that could have been wrong, like refrigerator, washer, dryer, all the things, right? So you were pretty lucky, knock on wood.
I know, but I guess the most expensive thing was the well, and having put a new one in 3 years earlier, that hurt a little bit. But listen, nobody got killed. Nobody ended up with a catastrophic illness or anything like that. So all's well that ends well. So you have to always, and that's what the focus of this program is, always look positively. And later on, of course, in the program, not only talking about Tim and Cam Ward's wine at Vineyard 36, wonderful wine, we will imbibe a bit, but we'll also be visiting with our good friends at the Apex Cigar Lounge.
It's gonna be fun.
We're going out on location. You might want to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a fun place.
Yeah.
It's there aren't many places to go to smoke cigars, and a lot of times if you try to smoke in a house, you get kicked out of the house.
Yeah, my wife would concur.
Not
with
just
that.
for the time you're smoking a cigar, if you're not careful, right? So there are so many places out there that people just don't like smoke, and so there are a few places that smoking is acceptable. And Apex Cigar Lounge is a house. That's an old farmhouse.
Absolutely.
That has a great walk-in humidor. I mean, you can walk for hours in there and not see all the cigars. It's amazing. It's a winter wonderland of cigars in there.
Absolutely.
Love that place.
Not bad.
And you can smoke. They've got a nice lounge to smoke in there, the inside outside. So it's a real friendly place, and I look forward to going there later on.
And we may even get a cameo appearance or two from Jeff or Rob, the proprietors of Apex Cigar Lounge. And as Coach said, it was an old farmhouse.
Yep.
It's on Salem Street, 1510 Salem. Right before, as you're coming north on Salem out of Apex, right before you get to US 64, right on that corner. It's a great place to socialize, because if nothing else, the camaraderie you have, and they have 700 to 800 members at this cigar lounge, which is very, very impressive. And I wouldn't want to see all of them in there at once, but you do see a smattering of individuals coming in and out, and they're having a good time together, talking over the world's problems and solving them.
Somebody's watching right now. They say, I don't know what kind of cigar I'd ever like or whatever. Come in there. You tell them what you like, and they will pair you with the perfect cigar. That's what they've done. I've seen them do that several times for people.
Absolutely. They've done it for us. And, I'm always into learning, whether it's about wines. And we're going to hear again from Tim Gleason, the former Hurricane defenseman, who, along with Cam Ward, have invested and have started a winery several years, and Tim will tell you.
About 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah, about that time.
Yep.
But I'm always learning about cigars, too, because as much as I've smoked over the years, and it's been several decades, let's put it that way, I still it's all about taste. It's the same thing with wine.
Everybody's different too. Everyone, like, I may like something you don't like. There's nothing wrong with that. Right?
That's right.
Same with wine. If I'm trying something you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Get something else. And there's nothing to be offended by not liking something.
Right, and we'll always have like little tricks of the trade.
Yep.
For example, did you know that you can get, and Jeff told us this one, but I don't want to blow his cover, but there's little tricks of the trade to be able to enjoy a cigar even more by being able to draw the full flavor out of it, whether it's a Maduro, whether it's a medium, or whether it's a mild cigar. And again, they're going to be making their Live Happy Show debut.
Yep, we're excited about
program.
that.
Absolutely.
You know, and also going to bring out, when Tim gets here, when the wine segment comes, I'm going to bring out the heavy artillery, because I heard he likes the heavy artillery to open the bottle.
Yeah, you have kind of a unique opener.
Yes.
But you don't have a happy trigger finger.
And I'm going to use trigger integrity later on. We'll see that. How's that?
It's all coming up here on the Live Happy Show. Again, Chuck Caton with Coach Pete D'Arruda. We hope that you are enjoying our program, and we'll continue to tell your friends about it.
You know, Chuck, I was in Chicago, Illinois last week, and talking to a group of 500 different financial advisors, and a few of them had done some research on me because I was one of the speakers that listed, and a couple of them had found the show, and they talked about how much they like wine and cigars too. So, you know, Chicago, Illinois, we're in North Carolina, see how fast and far the show travels, right? So that's pretty good.
Well, that's what our goal is, and we're going to always try to bring you the best in guests from the world of sports and entertainment, and also talking about certainly people who are expert about wine and cigars.
Folks, if you're interested, if you want to be in the studio audience, just go to livehappyshow.com. Come in. We've got a few people in this live studio audience now, and if you're nice during the show, we also let you participate in the wine tasting part.
I think that
livehappyshow.com.
I know, livehappyshow.com. That is a wonderful incentive, I would think. And
no, we know. We don't think. We know.
We do know. And we do know one thing.
We'll be right back.
Absolutely. With Timmy Gleason.
Hey folks, this is Thomas Lipscomb with the nationally broadcast Financial Safari radio show. We have breaking news about your 401k, 403b, or TSP. Let's go to Coach Pete in studio.
Thanks, Thomas. You know, it's very concerning out there how many people do not understand the 401k, 403b, or TSP. Folks, we have the brand new Survival Guide series. Give a call right now to the number you see on your screen, and let's get you taken care of with your 401k, 403b, or TSP Survival Guide today.
We are back on the Live Happy Show. I'm Chuck Caton, along with Coach Pete D'Arruda, and we are happy to be joined by former NHL defenseman who played primarily most of his career with the Carolina Hurricanes. Old number 6, who's really not that old. His name is Tim Gleason, the former U.S. Olympian, and a guy after my own heart, ladies and gentlemen, because if you know my background, I'm from the Motor City, and so is this handsome young man. Good to have you here, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
It's amazing. Time's gone by. You were telling me, how many years ago now has it been since you've been out of the NHL?
This will be the 4th season already, so time flies, I guess, when you're having some fun outside of it.
Absolutely, and you probably had a lot of fun too, because as an American kid growing up to play this great game of hockey, you took a different route from those from years before you. You didn't play college hockey. You opted to play major junior hockey in Canada, and you might explain that to some of our new people to this program who don't understand the differences of where you can develop your skills. You can either go to school or you can play junior hockey, where you're basically ineligible to play NCAA hockey. You can go to Canadian colleges, but you can't play in the NCAAs. But tell me about how you picked the junior route.
Well, you know, I grew up, like you said, in the Motor City, about an hour north of Detroit, and it was just, you know, I played my youth hockey there, but then when I became, I think it was around 14 or so, I kind of had to make a decision whether I was going to either go the college way or go the major junior way. And the year before I joined the OHL, which is Ontario Hockey League, I had to go to the Junior B League, which is in Leamington, Ontario, which you're familiar with, the Leamington Flyers. And I played a year there when I was 15. And then, you know, after that, it was like I had to pick one way or the other. So it was a chance I took. I had some opportunities to go to Michigan or Michigan State at the time, and my parents were I think at the time pushed me towards there, which any parent would.
Well, I hope it was Michigan instead of Michigan
Well, yeah, I'm still a Michigan guy, but you know, at the end of the day, it was, you know, they said it was my decision, and I chose to go with the Ontario Hockey League, and everything worked out pretty well.
Well, you're not the oldest guy in the world, but you're seeing kids today. I mean, let's talk about how you end up becoming a pro player, because I know it's every parent's dream to have their son or daughter play professional sports, whether it's hockey, no matter what it is, and everybody's proud of their kid. But they also have to be realistic, and when you hit that crossroads, when you're, say, 12, 13, 14, I think your mom and dad probably knew that you had the talent and a lot of people around you, and you felt it, but your burning desire to want to play, that's, I think, an intangible that people forget. Donly the kid knows this, right? A parent can't push you into loving the game that you're playing.
No, I agree. I think my dad told me at the time, I think it might have been 12 or 13, where I came up to him one day and said, "Dad, I don't want to play this anymore." Not sure why I said that. I don't remember. He says, "All right." He says, "No problem. You got to call your coach, though, and tell her why you're not coming." So I was like, "Oh, no. Wait a second." So I don't think I made that call, and we ended up going to practice, and that was history. But, you know, nowadays you see it's so intense now. You got younger kids that are being told they're good at a certain age and this and that, and you know, they're trying to push kids more and more and more, like the younger they are. And I think there's a point you could do that, but I think any ages from, you know, they start playing, you know, you can't think of a kid's going to make the NHL at 8 years old, but some parents might think that these days. I'm not sure how that works out, but you know, when you know, at a certain age, 14, 15 is kind of when it gets pretty serious, or it used to be like that. But overall, I wish it was just more about the kids just kind of enjoying themselves, and you know, at the end of the day, it's in their control, and see what they could do with it.
Well, Coach, we talk about helicopter parents today, and you see that in sports as well. They're helicopter secondary coaches, and I think that's what bugs me. I know I had 3 kids that wanted to play the game and loved it, whether it was baseball or hockey in my case, and I stayed out of the way. I enjoyed watching them.
Well, it's fun to watch the parents sometimes too. That's its own activity off the ice. It's like the parents going on.
That's right. You've got zero tolerance too. You know, you've probably been in hockey rinks yourself where you see parents go wild, and they just kind of lose it a little bit, and they shouldn't.
We just, my son had a game the other day, and there was a few parents just jumping up and down, and I actually had to move corners quietly. So I like to kind of be in my own space when I watch my son. I know my dad was one of those fathers that you knew he didn't know he was there.
Right.
He just enjoyed watching us play, and it was easy going for me.
Well, for Tim Gleason, he was drafted by the Ottawa Senators, but really never played a game for them. You were traded to the Los Angeles Kings. Prior to that, and I know you broke in with the LA, so I'm sure there was kind of an adjustment there. Now, you played with the, we hadn't mentioned this, with the Windsor Spitfires of the OHL when we were talking about your junior career and playing that way. So that's the stair step to get noticed to be drafted, as you were by the Senators. Now, did you have any contact with Ottawa at all? And did you have any questions because you're playing junior? Geez, they traded me already. What the heck's going on here?
Yeah, you know, it was almost, you know, being drafted is one thing, and it was obviously really exciting for me, myself, and family. But yeah, I was with the team. I thought I was going to sign with them, got drafted by them, but then boom, it's traded, and then that just gave me an opportunity to open another door for me. I had a rookie camp there in LA, and I kind of made it out through there. So it was one of those things that worked out, and it's funny how things, you know, shape themselves.
I wonder about numerology too, because I remember you wore the number 42 with the Los Angeles Kings, and if you add 4 and 2, you get 6.
Yeah, which that's what I was going with the whole time. Yeah.
Tim's number with the Carolina Hurricanes, and of course a little bit of a cup of coffee, if you will, with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll never forget this. You might want to tell the story about the Winter Classic, because you were traded to the Leafs. The Leafs were going to play the Detroit Red Wings, I believe, at the Big House, right, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, my old alma mater at the Michigan Stadium, and you were a Leaf and thrust into that situation when defenseman John Michael Lyles came to the Hurricanes, probably hoping to play at the Big House in that game against the Red Wings, because he was from Indianapolis, Indiana, another American defenseman like yourself.
Yeah, I think he was warming up in that game, actually, and they called him off.
Wow.
So it was pretty interesting how that worked out. But yeah, it was one of those things. wasn't really playing much at the time. I came out of an injury with Carolina, and then lo and behold, I was traded that day, and it's pretty. I mean, my family was more excited, I think, than I was. I know my dad was, because he's, he was always. We were always watching the Leafs growing up, but yeah, it was an exciting time when we got there, and it was a short stint. But I guess looking back, it was one of those things that you could say you played with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it was. Till this day, my dad says that was probably the most exciting time for him. 3 or 4 months with there. He kind of practically lived at the house in Toronto, so he had a fun time, and so did I. So it was good.
Well, there's always something special.
It looks fun. That outside play, like I think they played in Fenway one year. Didn't
yeah,
they?
there's all kinds of Winter Classics. But
fun.
I think the thing, your dad, I can relate to this because the original 6. Coach, you're from the Boston area. I mean, I don't know why I'm even sitting next to him. He's a Bruin fan. I used to be the Hartford Whalers. You know that from the Live Happy show and our uniforms on our program. But I still like you. But the thing is, the original 6 very important to your dad. Growing up in the original 6, whether you were from Montreal or Toronto or Boston or New York, and Chicago. I mean, there was nothing like it. So I could relate to what your dad was feeling.
Yeah, he was. Same with my uncles. They kind of played all together, and they're all Detroit, Toronto fans growing up. And Bob Cole, always listened to Bob Cole, so big fans, and they were all there at a lot of the games throughout. So they had a good time overall. So.
Bob Cole, by the way, is going to do 10 games this year. 50th year of broadcasting in the National Hockey League with Hockey Night in Canada. Hard to believe he's worked with some great people.
Quick story: I met him for the first time in LA. He was walking the halls, and I never met him prior. And I said, I got to meet this guy. Whether for me or my dad, I had to meet him.
Absolutely.
So shook his hand and introduced myself.
Well, he was a tremendous voice and a good person, too. And the last time I actually saw him was in a preseason game several years ago when we were up in, it wasn't Halifax, but we went up to St. John's, Newfoundland. Okay. And that's where he's from. And he actually came to an exhibition game between the Hurricanes and the Ottawa Senators. Now, we're playing in the Montreal Canadiens farm team rink, but we're playing the Ottawa Senators. You figured it out several years ago. All right, you're in a different role now. You're looking at young defensemen now and probably looking at them like somebody looked at you years ago. What are you looking for in the young players today? And tell us a little bit about the player makeup today as opposed to when you were coming up.
I think more now, there's more skating, more skill involved. Not necessarily the rough, tough type of deal, but that for a minute takes me a second just to kind of think in a different way, which is good. I grew up just kind of fighting for every inch type of thing, and now it's a little bit more, as long as you can skate, you have some skill, obviously you can work hard, you have a good opportunity. So I think just working with the young D is just sharing what I knew or what I know now, and just kind of the experiences I had, kind of share with them if they have any questions. But just it's more or less I'm trying to develop them or help develop them, and if I could teach them one thing, whether it's once a month or once every few weeks or whatever the case is, then I've done my job. So I enjoy helping people. And I think this is a good position for me. And
that's what the American Hockey League players in the organization, and also with some travel in terms of draft picks, junior players, and also players that play in college. One quick question before we break with you, and of course we'll be bringing Tim in for the next segment because he and Cam Ward, the former Hurricane goaltender now playing in Chicago, have a wonderful wine that we will be talking about. And but very quickly now, did you ever have a visit from Red Berenson? You said about Michigan or Michigan State?
We met with them just briefly before we decided to go to the Ontario Hockey League route or whatever, and we had a quick conversation with him. My parents, I think, thought I was nuts, but like I said, it worked out. So he was understanding, and I'm sure he's dealt with a lot of people like that. So.
Well, the irony of that comment, Coach, is Tim actually came to the Carolina Hurricanes for a former Wolverine defenseman named Jack Johnson, who went to the LA Kings, and that's another story for another time. I am so happy that he and his father, by the way, a helicopter father who used to play in my era as a defenseman, Jack Johnson Sr., who wanted to dictate what his son was going to do, thank goodness he did, or Tim Gleason would not be a Carolina Hurricane. So
Thanks, John.
yeah, that's right. I don't know how a father could tell a kid not to be part of a future Stanley Cup championship team, but that's a story for another time. And we will be back on the Live Happy show. Tim and his wines from Vineyard 36.
Talk to one of our local experts, and we have a special offer for you on today's show. Call in the next 30 minutes, and we're going to custom design for you an easy-to-understand financial review that will indicate if you're in need of a full-blown financial plan. There's no obligation or cost for this initial review for all callers who have at least $200,000 saved for retirement. If you meet those qualifications, here's what you can expect. First, we'll run a fee report to help you untangle what it's costing you to work with your current planner or advisor. We'll show you how to protect your investments and keep more of your money in your accounts. Next, we'll perform a tax analysis to show you how you could possibly be reducing your taxes and increase your cash flow. And finally, we'll create a customized lifetime income plan using proven strategies and techniques that could turbocharge your retirement income. In short, we'll take the guesswork out of financial planning for you. So, for all callers who call in the next 30 minutes, a comprehensive financial review that we're offering with no obligation. Just call the number below right now.
Well, folks, welcome back into the Live Happy show. Now, this is my most favorite time of the year. The segment, by the way, of the show is our wine segment. And again, Coach P, Tim Gleason, Chuck Caton, and we're going to get into some wine. Now, Tim, how long have you been involved in the wine industry?
Well, serious for about 5 years. We started this officially probably about 8 years. We started small. Quick story. There's a few of us that were just drinking some wine, and a friend of Cam's actually, which is our partner now, Jason Ernest, he said, hey, what's the chances of you guys ever think about making your own wine? We're like, geez, we never really thought about it. And long story short, we made 3 barrels. This is kind of almost like a hobby, and almost 8 years later, we're pretty serious into it. So
that's like 5 or 6 years ago. I tried the 36 wine at a wine store locally, and it was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I want to know how many of the 3 bottles was left after you guys finished.
Well, not many, not much at all.
So I mean, it's a hobby that's turned into a pretty good semi-career, hasn't it?
Yes, it's one of those things that with Cam being busy, Jason and I have our own things going, so everybody's pretty busy, but I think it's just relationships over the last few years, get into certain places, distribution, restaurants, things like that kind of helps us grow, and we continue to whether we have tastings at certain places or dinners, again, it's really about relationships and just getting, obviously you want people to like the wine, and
right.
we try our best every year, every vintage, to put the best juice possible in the bottle, and that's our goal every single year.
Do you have a favorite vintage of the years you've been making it?
See, my problem is I don't save my wine all that much. I do have a fridge, but when I buy wine, it's more like I'm probably going to drink it within the next week or two.
Yep.
I've tried to save some since we started. I might have a bottle that's not open, but that's a good question. I don't have a particular. We're really excited about the upcoming, actually just released in September. You have 3 here that you can probably see: Black Ace, Foundation, and 36. So these 3 it's just better juice this year. We got it from Beckstoffer Vineyards. So overall, it's better juice for us, and we're definitely excited about this vintage.
I wonder. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to ask if you could describe among the 3 the differences thereof.
Well, Black Ace, you'll see probably on your left, I believe. That's kind of our gold standard wine at this point. Black Ace is almost. You're probably familiar with the Black Ace from a hockey standpoint. Black Aces.
Yes, I was one once in amateur hockey. I never played much, and of course we referred to that with Eric Cole recently. So he took care of the Black Ace. Those are the extra players in the playoffs that don't play. In 06, Eric was nice to them and kind of was like their father figure.
Yeah, so that's we kind of took that story a little bit. We're kind of entering, I guess you can call the wine business, or I guess wine league in hockey terms, but we're fresh to it. We haven't really played that much type of thing, and that's kind of the story behind that. We're kind of coming into it. So that's an important piece for us. Foundation was more or less, and that actually ties in. I'll have to look at the label real quick. That ties in. I don't know if you can see it, but it's silver. And when we came with this idea, it's a Roman numeral 3, which stands for Cam and I and Jason, all three of us. It's silver because Jason's idea was tied in with the Winter Olympics in 2010. I won a silver medal, and that's why it's silver.
Right.
With 36 at the time, before we got involved with the Black Ace, that was our gold standard. It still is really, one of our higher end bottles, but that's just a gold standard. One of our best bottles that we had to date. But the Black Ace is 100% Cabernet. The Foundation is a mix of Cab Merlot. And as of now, the 36 is the Cab Merlot as well.
I think he wants to open some wine, but I'd like to tap on that since we didn't delve into it in the previous segment. I don't want to diminish your happiness and your pride of being an American that played on that Olympic team in 2010, because it was a tremendous opportunity, and what a game that was in the gold medal game.
Yeah, it was 100 years ago. It feels like, but from a family standpoint, all my family, I have a pretty big family back in Michigan, and they were hooked on a restaurant. If they couldn't make it out there at the time to Vancouver, they were hooked at a restaurant, and they would come together, and there must have been 100 of them there at each game we had. And my parents were out there. They brought another couple with them, and my wife at the time was out there, and I had a buddy of mine. Quick story, and we actually lost in that overtime game, and everybody was leaving. Obviously, he's in the subway, and they were about to jump on the subway. They had American jerseys on, and he got caught on the subway, and the doors closed.
Oh my
goodness. And there was, I think my dad has a picture. They're all Canadian fans, and there's this one U.S. guy, and he was up against the glass, like, help me, But anyways, that's a quick story.
Unbelievable. That was Sidney Crosby too. How many big goals has that guy ever scored in his career? And I know exactly where I was, Coach. I was with my middle son at his house in Los Angeles, Sherman Oaks, California. We were watching that game, and they don't have cable television, so luckily I was able to watch it on the national network on their TV. I wanted that game on so bad, and I'm glad at least he had a television. But,
so is this your son that does the reality shows?
This is the one that does like internet shows. Yeah, not Russ, but Chuck, the middle one. So we watched you from afar, and I was in the same time zone. That's about all I could say. But what a moment! But to get the silver, at least it's one of those things. You weren't Hertz, but you were Avis. But that game could have gone either way.
Yeah, it was overtime, and he scored it, of all people. The kid scored it, but I guess you always wish you could have won the gold, but we were that close, and it was a memory I'll have with me forever. So.
Well, I think you've got the gold standard of wines here, and I'm thinking, I hope Cam watches this too, because he's a big part of this endeavor. And before you open the wine, I'd like to know. Exactly. I know you both love red wines, but I mean, this is a tough business to be in, and it's something you have to pursue, right, Coach? I mean, it's
you got to be passionate about it.
And I think that you really do, and I think there's no better people than hockey players to be able to be successful at this endeavor.
Yeah, we kind of tied it in with that. It's not one of those things where you hear of an athlete putting together wine and they hope it sells whatever's in the bottle. This is something we've been after for a while. We do go out to Napa a couple times a year, which for our schedules is difficult to do, but we get out there a couple times a year, and we've sourced this fruit ourselves. We've picked it. It's been on the belt, and we picked the leaves and all the stems out of there. So we put some work into this, and we don't just go out and get any type of grape. We're trying to get the best juice possible and put it in that bottle, like I mentioned. So this is important for us.
Yeah, it's interesting, Coach, because we're talking about you're growing up as a hockey player, and when you're 8 or 9 years old, you're dreaming of playing in the NHL someday. Did you ever dream about being a vintner?
No, I mean, all my uncles are beer guys, so my dad's a beer guy, so I never.
Strohs too, probably in the old days.
Yeah, so I never really thought about it till. I know I listened to the last segment. I think it was the last segment with Eric, and he mentioned you got into it with Ray Whitney. So that's how I started a little bit too. I was 22 years old when I got traded here, and just kind of slowly got in it from there.
You have to be with somebody who understands wine, or else you end up with a really bad bottle and you'll hate all Cabernets.
That's
It's
right.
Like one bad bottle, right?
Oh, that's true.
So I know you got a kick out of seeing this on the show.
awesome, yeah.
And notice, folks, I'm using good trigger integrity. I don't have my finger on the trigger. It's just a wine opener. But I want you to be able to open it. So
Sure,
here you
yeah.
go. You can do the honors here. There's the, I'll do the foil for you.
Oh, very nice. You guys have it right down, don't you?
I gotta give me one of these.
It's cool, man. There you go.
Wow, it's still awesome to see that. I mean,
Did it bring it back up on its own? Just keep squeezing the trigger? It works a little hard.
I feel like I'm at the dentist's office right now. There we go.
If the dentist had wine, I'd go to the dentist more often. Now you just reverse the trigger. I can do that good for you. Yeah, we'll test that cork out.
So, this is fantastic.
I thought it was a big flare gun. It looks like a flare gun.
It does. But that drill sounds
We always
like
smell the cork. This cork smells
Oh,
good.
yes, I have to do that. But again, I think Tim mentioned this off mic for us, and I smell the aroma here. He says he doesn't smell.
That does smell very well.
He does it really good, but he did take a shower, so you want to try to take a look at this, and we're a little
Got a good nose to it.
nasal action, and then I'm going to grab this one. If you don't mind my fingers,
Here,
those
thanks,
throw.
fellas.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'd like to know. Tell us a little bit about where they can get this. Any of the three.
We do have restaurants. I actually can't tell you offhand. We do have some at certain restaurants. There's one, Angus Barn, you guys were mentioning earlier. We're at the very end of that list, but it's very visible for me to see. But we're there. We're at some Total Wines, a couple in Raleigh, North Hills area, and Taylor's off Six Forks. So we have a bunch around here, and we have 6 other states as well that we have some wines in the restaurants. So
This is terrific. It's got some body to this, but it's also pretty. It's light, but it does have a little bit of body.
We're looking
now.
for some investors.
Oh, well, we'll have to. No, I think
The way you're talking,
you probably have it
I haven't seen Chuck's
covered.
features in a while.
Well, that's right. You probably have it. But I'll tell you what, fantastic wine, and
I've got a little cherry notes to it too.
Very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a Cab Merlot, so
nice.
And the
blend.
Merlot makes it a little sweeter, and I like mixes. I mean, when they combine different wines,
It's
they
excellent.
have to have 75% of one grape to be able to call it a real, like Cabernet has to have 75%.
Yeah.
Merlot got a bad name in the movie Sideways, and it's taken a long time to recover.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie, Chuck?
Absolutely. You know.
I know you've seen it as a wine guy. You have to see that.
Giamatti was unbelievable in that movie, I'll tell you too. And so.
You know, that movie was a great movie until the end. It really got too dark at the end. It was
I
a
know.
really great comedy to begin
Well, I
with,
like the
though.
Armenian church. I mean, that was the only thing. I couldn't believe he wanted to marry an Armenian. Anyway, sorry, Patty, my sister.
So this is really good, and this was this is the foundations. Why did you name it the foundations?
well, it was just kind of what we're about is like just solid, great juice that we can produce, and year after year we source from the best vineyards possible for us, and we try to put it in the bottle, and it's as simple as it's fairly priced, it's $50, and it's something that's simple, but it's very tasteful, at least for us, and hopefully the people that have it enjoy it. So.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been pleasantly surprised with a wine, like you knew it was going to be good, but it was even better than that when you bought
Any
it?
wine?
Yeah, any of your
you know
wines.
what?
Yeah.
I'm a big Realm guy. I don't know if you're not familiar. Friends of ours is Juan Mercado. He's out in Napa, but his wines are always delicious. It's one of those things that you can't get a bad bottle. So we're behind, about 5 years behind him, but we're trying to. That's one of those guys that you look up to and you want to be like in the wine world. So
So do you have your favorite wineries when you go visit Napa?
yes, Realm's one of them.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch. We actually have ours at Vineyard 29. It kind of mixes up with our number of Vineyard 36, but he makes Keith Emerson's our winemaker. You can see it on the bottle, but he gets that juice in the bottle there at Vineyard 29. Cru, he makes some Cru, CRU. He sells it around here as well. So he's done us a world of wonders, but he's doing great for us in his first year with us. So we're excited to have him as well.
Have you ever tried Screaming Eagle?
Yes,
I have.
well,
$7,000,
once before,
$8,000.
once before, but it's not like I have those sitting in my my fridge at home. But I try to keep with $50 to $70 range on a daily basis, but that's kind of my range.
Well, yeah, one final thing now. For people that are not familiar with wine and then they'll go out and just buy on price, that's not the smartest thing to do either, is it?
No, I mean, you could get a $30 bottle that's maybe better than an $80 to $100 bottle, really. It's kind of, I honestly think the more you taste it, the more you find out what you like. It's kind of almost a new experience in every bottle you taste. Not every bottle is the same, so that's what's pretty cool about wine. So, like it was mentioned before, I'm not much of a taster, smeller, but I like what I taste, and then I'll just keep getting those types of bottles. So we stay within our range, and we know what we like, and we don't really go outside too much unless we hear a lot of good things about it.
Right.
Fairly simple. My wife and I would share a bottle pretty much, 7 days a week. So we share a bottle. We don't, but we really enjoy it, especially when the kids go to bed. So it's a good conversation piece.
Well, studies keep coming out where they say red wine or say this, like a couple of glasses a day is not bad. Matter of fact, really good for you sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it helps you live longer. So that's what I heard.
At least you're happy when you're living.
There it is. No,
that's what it's all about. Living happy. The Live Happy Show. We thank Tim for being with us. Tim Gleason, Coach Pete. And we're going to delve in. Remember, it's Vineyard 36. Hi, Cam. Good luck in Chicago. And thanks for joining us on this segment of the Live Happy Show. Up next, we shall do some smoking of cigars. Well, Coach, I want to talk about some of our friends here because we couldn't do this show without the fine folks at the Apex Cigar Lounge at 1510 North Salem Street in Apex. Jeff and Rob have an old converted farmhouse that they made into a very comfortable cigar lounge. It's incredible.
It's a nice place.
It's tremendous. And they've got the best of the boutique cigars that you'll find and all of the big name cigars. Yep. But the atmosphere is great. You can come in and watch sports. You can come in and watch whatever you would like to watch with the camaraderie of others who enjoy fine cigars.
What I like about those guys is you can go in and tell them what you're looking for, what you want to have in your mouth, so to speak, and they'll find a cigar perfect for you.
Absolutely. Their humidor is second to none, not only in North Carolina, but across the United States. So remember to visit our good friends Jeff and Rob at the Apex Cigar Lounge. They're at 1510 North Salem Street, Apex, North Carolina.
The matchmaker between you and the perfect cigar.
We're back on this segment of the Live Happy Show. I'm Chuck Caton, and Coach Pete DeRuta is on assignment, but I've got a better-looking guy anyway to talk, and I hope you enjoyed Tim Gleason, 2010 Olympian, and his wonderful wine, Vin 36. Again, we thank Tim for being with us on that segment of the program, and again, the number 36 came from Cam Ward's number 30 and Timmy Gleason's number 6. We told you we had a better-looking guy to be guesting with us, and we are on remote here at the Apex Cigar Lounge at 1510 North Salem Street in the peak of good living, Apex, North Carolina. And it's my pleasure to bring in Jeff Schlager, who is a doctor by trade, at least years ago, but he decided to go straight, just like broadcasters, and get into the cigar business. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right, tell us a little bit about your background here, because we quipped a little bit in a previous segment for this show that we had to twist your arm or twist your foot because you were a podiatrist, right?
Yes, 30 years in practice, and decided to retire and come into the cigar business.
And you're elbowing one of a man's best friends here. Let's introduce Porter as well, because Porter's kind of the mascot and the, I guess, the guard dog for this wonderful establishment.
Yeah, Porter's been with us since he's about 8 weeks old. Comes to work with me every day.
Beautiful.
And he's a lap dog.
You just
more
like to have him
important here than I am.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Can he call on the customers here? Is he pretty good at that?
No, but he lets us know when they come in.
I heard the growling. The only guy he doesn't growl at is, I guess, Coach Pete, who's got that friendly face.
That's right. He didn't growl at Coach Pete.
You don't sound like you're from North Carolina. Give us your background here.
No, grew up on Long Island. Born in Brooklyn, which most New Yorkers, I think, are.
Well, that's part of Long Island, too. People don't realize it. It's right at the western tip of Long Island. Kings, for those
Kings
of you
County.
who are talking about, about Queens, which is part of Long Island, but he's from Kings.
County also, yeah, which is Brooklyn. But I was young when I moved my family out to Long Island. And grew up there, went to college at Hofstra, went up to University of Buffalo for pre-med, and Ohio and Michigan, and back to Long Island to practice, and then started hospital medicine, and had a good career, 30 years.
It's interesting. How did you end up in North Carolina?
Cousin of mine had a shop. He's retired now, and my brother-in-law was the partner, and he decided after my cousin retired to stay in the business, and he's retired in Florida with my sister and traveling, and he said build it, run it, and here we are.
Well, you must be an avid cigar smoker then, even in the days before you got into the business, right?
Yeah, I've probably been smoking for about 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's interesting because normally, yeah, and then your type of cigars. I mean, are you like a wide variety of tastes from the mild to the Maduro?
I go mild to Maduros to full strength cigars.
Now that's
depending on mood.
Interesting term. You say full because I've smoked for years, but the terminology I can give you all the hockey terms, but I didn't know there was anything more than Maduro. I always thought that was the strongest cigar.
No, you can get a Maduro actually that is a mild cigar. There are some companies that have a natural wrapper, and then they take off the natural wrapper and put on the Maduro wrapper.
So it's not necessarily
still a mild cigar.
That's right. It's not necessarily a stronger
still
cigar.
A mild cigar. So the darkness of the cigar doesn't necessarily dictate the strength.
Previous shows, people know that I lived in Connecticut for 18 years, and that was tobacco country. I lived in a little town called East Granby, which was a little north of Hartford, and we had the Culbro. The Culver Brothers tobacco. They used to grow the Connecticut broadleaf tobacco, and you might give a little background about that because it's, I'm told, some of the best cigar wrapper in the world.
Yeah, the Connecticut cigar wrapper was, and probably still is, one of the most used wrapper in the industry. They did start growing Connecticut wrappers in Ecuador, which is a little darker wrapper, different flavor profile because of the soil, and that's starting to pick up quite a bit also.
Let's talk a little bit about the store, the origin here. We've been talking about it was an old farmhouse here at North Salem and US 64. Very unique situation, very unique property, but beautiful and very comfortable for your clientele.
Yeah, this worked out great. We used to be downtown Apex, and we had the opportunity to move. This building was up for sale. It's about an acre, 0.7, and very conducive. It's roughly 105 years old, this house. And we made some modifications, took down some walls.
I don't want anybody to say either that I remembered it being built, right?
Oh, yeah, there you go. No, I wasn't going to go there.
Okay, thank you. But so you made some modifications to it, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, so the lounge is larger than our previous store. The humidor, I decided we're going to cedar line it. Everything in there is cedar. It holds the temperature, it holds the humidity. It's about 20 by 30 in dimension, and front to back, the seat, because of the cedar, it's almost identical in temperature and humidity.
Well, that's something. Now, how did you become expert in this? I mean, this is a whole departure from the norm, being in the medical profession, and then all of a sudden becoming an exquisite, not only a devotee of cigar smoking, but having to know what you're talking about for the novice who may come in and may want to smoke for the first time among your membership.
I was a novice once, and in most cigar lounges, cigar stores, cigar people are very willing to accept you into
the fraternity,
kind of the fraternity
or the sorority,
and give you the information. And over the years, you pick up more and more information. I had friends in New York that had cigar shops, so hanging around in the cigar shops, you start to pick up the little tips here and there, and that's what I try to, pay forward.
Well, I tell you what, you talk about Long Island and Manhattan and New York, near and dear to my heart, Jose and Lionel Melendi. I wonder where they are today. They owned 2 stores, one of which was on Avenue of the Americas and 57th in Manhattan, and the other one was next to the Hartford Civic Center where the Whalers used to play. De La Concha was the name of their store. So, when I think of the Northeast, I think of guys like you and the adaptation. All right, let's get into the cigars. We got a few minutes here. Okay. What are we smoking today, Mr. Schlager?
Today we picked out a cigar by La Flor Dominicana.
Okay.
It's a double Ligero. They have a full line from a mild medium up to very strong. This is one of the strongest cigars. Mm-hmm. It's made with an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper.
Mm-hmm. Got a nice aroma.
And the binder, you have the wrapper on the outside, and then the filler is on the inside, and there's a binder that holds that filler together. And they put in also, and that's Dominican. Mm-hmm. The binder is a Dominican wrapper. The cigar, La Flor Dominicana, is from the Dominican region. And they put in, to make it strong, not only the wrapper, but Ligero leaf, and that's the top leaf of the cigar plant.
Okay, so let's cut them up.
And it's in the sun.
Yeah, we got to cut them up and smoke them a little bit here, don't we?
Yes.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that, because we're going to get into it with our next segment next week, a little bit more about the ins and outs of it. But let's see what this tastes like.
And when you cut a cigar, you could cut it straight cutter, V cutter. You could use a punch. Everyone has a preference. V cut and punches kind of concentrate the flavor coming in, but some people like a straight cut. You get a good blend coming out, and it doesn't give it the appearance of being stronger. When you go into straight cut, all you need to do is take off the very top of the cigar. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's what they call a cap,
and some people
and
cut it
usually there's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And an easy way to know how much you cut off, you could always take your cutter and put it down on the table, especially when you're a novice.
Yeah, like I am. Yeah.
And it takes off very little.
Look at that. I'm going to try that too. Look at that. Beautiful. Excellent. Yeah. So we've done that. Now we got to light it up.
And then you light it.
Beautiful.
Different ways of lighting it. There's torches, which this one is a triple flame. They come single, triple, and quad flame. There's a technique called toasting it, which I happen to like to do, and you use the tip of the flame, not the inside
the
blue.
Body of it, right?
And I kind of just toast it so that I see that it's getting lit, and then you inhale. Not inhale, I'm sorry. You puff.
That's puff, right. If you inhale, you're in big trouble.
Yes.
Beautiful. Look at that nice light.
And you could touch it up a little if it did get some.
Excellent. Love it.
And that's out.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to try to
do not inhale a cigar.
No, that's our little caution. We'll put that on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. Cigarette smokers that gave up cigarette smoking, cigarettes you inhale.
Yeah.
Most people.
Well, that's, this
cigars,
is a nice.
Yeah, cigars you do not want to inhale. When it goes down, and if it gets low enough, it's like ripping your lungs apart.
Oh,
it hurts.
It hurts. It hurts. It hurts badly.
And every so often, I have a reflex, and I'll inhale.
I love it. Well, yeah, this has been your cameo appearance here, Jeff. You're going to be with us again next week, and periodically here at the Apex Cigar Lounge. And it's been a pleasure. We're going to get more into your background, and we're going to get more into the ins and outs of not only the tobacco, but the cutting and everything involved. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Live Happy Show. I'm Chuck Caton for Coach Pete DeRuda, who is on assignment, and Dr. Jeffrey Schlager. We are going to see you next week, right?
Yes.
Hope you enjoyed Tim Gleason, and hope you will enjoy next week's